I talk to people who commit violence in international armed conflicts for a living. I've been doing that for 10 years now. And I'm one of the co-founders of an organization who does that. The topic of empathy in that context for me is very important. What I do happens in a very masculine environment. There's a lot of violence, there are a lot of military leaders, there's a lot of quid pro quo, what do I get out of this? If this isn't going to work, I'm going to make you do it my way. And so recognizing the human being behind that and the way you feel about what's happening isn't, very popular. But at the end of the day, it's crucial because a lot of what happens in conflict isn't rational. It's emotional, and it's driven by fear a lot of the time. And so giving space to that is important, and for me to see that is important. What's also really important, what I find a lot of the time when I tell people what I do, is that people are very fascinated, and they are also a little bit weirded out by the idea that I talk to people with blood on their hands, and they want to know what that's like. And my answer tends to be a little, I guess, not as spectacular as you would think in a way, because these people that I talk to are very extreme, but they're also just normal people. So I spend a lot of time, oftentimes years, working with them, talking to them, meeting them in bizarre places, some jungle somewhere, some safe house somewhere, some bunker somewhere. And so once you get there, you spend quite a bit of time with them. And so it's not your typical ministry meeting where you have 1 hour, you show up and somebody asks you if you want a cup of coffee and you leave. Like you hang out with them, you get to know them, and they're just normal people, except they do, well, not all of them. Some of them are a little off, but most of them are very normal, and I have normal human interaction with them. And I think part of that is really important in some crucial things in making my job work, which is understanding what they are about, what motivates them, what their red lines are, why they do what they're doing, and not going in with judgment, because it's this thing, I think people often expect me to say it's very different, because you imagine somebody who does these things to be very different from you. And I'm sure, I'm not a psychiatrist, and it's very easy for me to say I would never, because I haven't been in a situation where I've had to make the choice. My life has been, thankfully, in pretty safe places, and nobody is threatening my life or my family's life or my group's life. And so the reality is that I don't know what I would have done either. And I think going in with that kind of an attitude where I don't think of them as monsters or, inherently one way or another, a certain way. And I think they feel that, and they don't get a lot of that. So that already helps, but it also fundamentally helps me listen to what they're saying, which then in turn is crucial, because my job is thinking about how to take the next step forward in a situation that is incredibly violent, incredibly tense, incredibly difficult. And I can't do that if I can't really hear what they're saying. Also because a lot of times I think what they're saying isn't really what they mean. But it can also be quite difficult to really be focused on empathizing with the people that I work with, because it can be a little bit confrontational, because they do awful things, and they talk about those things, and sometimes that's also difficult to take in. And I think that's an important thing where I make space for them to be whole human beings. Like, they've done certain things that are pretty shitty, but I also have to give space for myself, where sometimes it's hard to hear the things that they're saying, and sometimes you don't want to empathize. But the thing with my job is that it's hard, but if it works, it's incredibly fundamental. And so I think at the end of the day, that's why I've been able to keep doing it. I've been fortunate to be able to keep doing it.